This is Big Rob again, and we're back with HBCU Talk. And you know, guys, I always got my team with me. And I got my, with that pretty smile, we got Alex tonight, um, Brandon Flanders from BMF, and we have our new co host, Tawana Core. And she's going to come in with a lot of knowledge and a lot of organic information. And you know who I am, I'm Big Rob. But tonight's conversation is we're going to be talking about relationships. And in these conversations, there's going to be a four-part conversation. And the four-part conversation is going to be on various different levels of relationships. Well, tonight we're going to be talking about romantic relationships. And then the following Tuesdays, we're going to be talking about family relationships, then friendships, and acquaintanceships. And you know, all those relationships are very different. So I want to start talking about romantic relationships. And I want to talk about a study that I read today about how the black inside of the black community, marriages, um, we have the highest rate of divorces in the country coming out of the black community. And one of the things I would like to talk about is like, how can we strengthen? Okay. I'm going to share from coming from myself. How can we strengthen our relationships? And are relationships based on money and or valuable value like cars and homes? Because I'm noticing that not only in in my past relationships, but I see some of my buddies they're separating from their wives, and a lot of it comes from the lack of communication. And I wonder, where do that come from? And Brandon, what you think?
Um, I think maybe it's even a behavior that's learned from their families, from their fathers, from their mothers, from grandmothers, from uncles, from people that's in their environment. Um, I think the lack of communication, it stems from there. We become a product of our environment. So I think that a lot of the way we treat each other in relationships, how a man
Hmm.
treats his wife or his woman or his girl, whoever he's trying to court, I think that a lot of that stems from what they've seen their mama or their daddy do, or even what they've seen on television.
Wow.
Um, One of the things that I would interject and say, one, you said a couple of things, Rob. Number one was communication. I
Yes.
think that coming from a counselor point of view is and you said it was African American, our black community men thinks that it is less than when one say, hey, I need counseling.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
You know, it is not something that is looked upon as a need. It looks upon as grounded. Very rarely, if you tell an African American man that, hey, you might need counseling, it becomes an offensive thing. Where the Caucasian brother, they live in counseling. The child got counseled from the minute they look like they wake up in the morning. Oh, he not sleeping well. He need counseling. He did it. He needs counseling, and they invite that in. It doesn't diminish their masculinity, but it allows them to get to understand. And our African American, I've been in relationship myself when trauma cause you to actually look for a device. Trauma actually make you look for a out, where it's not like that in the African American process. It's like we've learned, I don't know, because of slavery, because we've learned to just deal with it. I hate that stigma of a strong black woman. I don't look, I'm black. I don't want to be the strong black woman. There's nothing wrong with being that, but I don't want to be overbearing because that strong black woman becomes right,
Mm.
she's not submissive to her man,
Right.
and submission has became such a negativity that it doesn't allow you to know that there's such blessing in being submissive. There's such
But can
power in being submissive.
Can
I know
I
I've
ask you a
covered a
question?
lot of stuff like that.
No,
Yeah, go ahead.
can I ask you? And I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
But you know, if I don't mind, Brandon, is a lot of women said they don't want to be. They want to be submissive, right? But wanting to be and knowing how to be is a different level.
I
And the thing
agree.
is that I hear a lot of women say that. I say, you know, I don't want to be the head of the household. I don't want to be this. But then when you walk into the household, they the loudest and the biggest voice in the household, and it's like, like, when are you going to allow the brother? And then the brother don't want to be disrespectful, so he gets to the point where you talk so much, he takes a step back and be like, okay.
Well, there is I just for submission, understanding submission is the whole totality of it all. It is not just saying, "Oh, I submit to you. You talk first. You talk the loudest." I've been in places where I've seen the women talk the loudest, and there's still submission. There's a way that a man carries himself. There's a way of how he said he doesn't even have to talk. He walks into a room. There's a submission that comes in the room. You know, the talking of loudness does not negate my heart, because I can be a soft talker, but yet I'm manipulating and I'm controlling it from the bottom. You know what I'm saying? So submission, I think it's number one, is how we submit to our God. Number one, because women will say that they don't submit to men, but then you look at their walk and who they submit to? They have problems at work. They have problems with their Lord. They have problems with different things. It's like sometimes you just look at somebody's history and their past to try to understand, who are you really submitting to? Do you understand what submission is? Because submission is not like you walk first and I walk behind you. That's lesser than. There's so much more to submission that brings entail blessings and curses. You know, so that's what I'm talking about. I'm not just talking about this submission that just says, okay, he eats first, he talks the loudest, he does this. It's like, because let me tell you, we as women have a gift that, honey, you can talk the loudest and you can do everything the best. But guess what? Guess who really runs the show? I'm the one. I'm the one. You know, because it can be very manipulated. Because I tell somebody, be careful, your encouragement spirit may not be a manipulated spirit.
Yeah, but I think.
Nope. What do you think?
I think, I think that a man and a woman is always equal.
Do you hear
But
me?
a man and a woman is always equal. But I always feel that in our community, that has came to a point where women are saying, "Well, I don't need a man." Right? I hear some sisters say, "I'm the mother and the father," and but if there are so many if there's so many mothers raising these boys, and they say there's a lot of fathers that's not in the black household, then I could see the problem, because you can see the problem with all the murder, the incarceration rate, the boys moving over to not taking on a woman's role, acting like a woman. That comes from the lack of a father. And the thing is that if you can be the mother and the father, then why so many of our black boys are dysfunctional?
I don't know. I think one of the things that that when we talked about the word submission, I think that it goes both ways, because when you talk about man and woman being equal, I think that we have to understand that sometimes men have to learn how to be submissive too. I don't think that we've been able to grasp that of being able to submit sometimes, because that's where the dysfunction comes in, because we've taught that men are supposed to act like this, men are supposed to be like this. And then sometimes men don't even have the tools to even know how to be the man that they're supposed to be for their woman in that relationship. So sometimes you know, women, I think that it's become a cycle that women have had to take on that role to be the mother, to be the father, to be the, you know, to be the nurturer, to be the breadwinner. And then sometimes it can become across like it's emasculating a dude, but we have to learn how to take a step back and really know who we are. It goes back to identity. You don't know who you are, you can't be who you need to be for that relationship. So your communication is going to be off. Your trust is going to be off. Loyalty, all those things that make up the foundation of a good relationship.
But that comes from the raising of
It
a
comes
black
from
boy and
exactly
not being raised with a father in the household. And that black woman talking about the mother and the father. And
true,
he's not getting the life skills from that black father,
true.
right? And sometimes, you know, I hear sisters say, because, well, you know, I got to do it by myself. Because, but these, you know, you got to look at it. These are some of the choices that you guys make.
Yeah.
And I've seen it with, even with my sisters. My sister Christine. I'm gonna give her a prime example. She's, God bless her soul, she's not here no more. But she was married to a guy that played in the NFL, right? But she had a guy right in front of her. His name was T-Bone. That was old back in the day, you know, that's what their names. And T-Bone was a good dude, right? But she went after the light, the guy that was in the NFL. But he turned out to be a dope fiend. And my grandmother hated this dude. Like, he in the NFL, but he's a bum. But she went to the light. But T-Bone, who we told her to be with, oh, he don't have nothing. But he turned out to have something, and he built it with the wife he married. And the guy wound up owning about 12 Kentucky Fried Chickens 20 years later. You know what I mean? But he had it in him, and she couldn't recognize it. So a lot of our sisters can't recognize a strong, intelligent black man or black man who's going to be there and support them. Because they're always looking for the stars and the shine, the glitter. You know what I mean?
I agree with that because of but the thing is this, it brings back to what Brandon said. It's our upbringing. When I have not seen the labor of men doing the small thing, going to work every day, doing those things, now I'm looking for the highlight. If I was not raised with the father and men around me that were hardworking men that were doing this, that was doing that, I look for the highlight. And remember, the highlight is always the thing that take us in. You know what I'm saying? Like you say, I agree with you. Everything that shine is not gold.
Right.
But
right.
we would look for that shine because we're not, whether man or woman, we were not in our own identity. So we want the man to identify us. We were never violated. We want his money, his personality, his person to identify. So we're not strong within ourselves. Two broken people make a broken marriage.
You're right. And then another thing is in the black community with our men, the streets are raising the men. Gangs are raising the men. They're finding their father figure within gangs. They're finding their father figure, you know, within dope dealers. Anything, they're finding their father figures in what they see on TV. And what they're getting on TV is what media is portraying, but what's not really in their community. It's not around them. You know, if they're not around people like churchmen or businessmen that are doing something like Big Brother communities, you know, if there's a Big Brother program that's going on, and then if those programs are not available in the community, then that's going to perpetuate that whole idea of a boy having a son and then raising a son, you know, having a son out of wedlock, that child being raised up in the same way by the streets and by how that father was raised, you know, and it's a complete cycle. So it creates a cycle. So when we have broken down relationships, it's a cycle. So how do we get that cycle? How do we break that cycle? How do we break those generational curses?
I just think sometimes when you look over at your mate and they don't have a book in their hand, and you done read 3 books, you read 4 books, 5 books, and you give them a book and you ask them to read to extend their thinking, their knowledge, and their wisdom, I think a lot of that has to do it. And it's like, so I've learned that I'm a reader, and let me say this though, I'm a listener because I like to do audiobooks. So I'm not a reader. So I like to listen to audiobooks, but I'm always grabbing audiobooks to enhance my thinking, to enhance how. And sometimes you can be with a person for years and you're growing spiritually, right? But they sometimes want to hold you in that same place, that same spot. Like, when are you going to allow me to grow? When are you going to see my development? And or when are you going to say that I done bettered myself, and you're not holding me hostage to who I was 5 years ago? And I see a lot of that in our Black relationships, because I have my buddies, and I used to own barbershops. So one of the things all the guys used to come in, and they used to have dialogue about their relationships. They would dialogue about child support. They would dialogue about, I wish my baby mama just shut up. She talks too much sometimes. And the thing is that what I've learned is that I picked up a lot from these guys. And so with that going on, I had to say to myself, well, maybe our sisters are not trying to grow with the brother, and they hold on to like a failure. And failure brings on success if you take out your time and just say, you know what, we can grow from here. But if you beat the man down day after day after day after day, sooner or later he's gonna walk away. And that's what
I think that we're not taught how to effectively communicate.
Mm-hmm.
We're not taught. Each individual is not taught how to effectively communicate. I remember reading the book Learning People's 5 Love Languages. You don't even know who you are. You don't know what makes you happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are ways that, for me, I'm more of a hearer. So as a hearer, if you want to speak to me love language, speak to me, talk to me, tell me how great I am. Tell me. That's how my love language. Other people's love language might be a gift. They like gift giving. I know how to receive love. How I receive love is words of affirmation. How I give love is gifts. I love to give gifts. This is my thing. I do that. But some people don't even know what are their perspective. Comes right back to identity. Lack of communication, lack of identity brings about a failed relationship.
Yeah. Do you think women take out the time to get a better understanding of what a real man looks like and
pros
what a
and
real
cons,
man is?
Where pros and cons, where Brandon made a point. You know what? There are women that out there, like myself, trying to better self. But there are women out there, they're out there with the grind. They had the baby late. They're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing it by themselves. They don't have time to take the time to cultivate themselves. They're trying to live and take care of children. They're trying to live and pay the bills. They're trying to live and do that. Most of us, some of us, was raised in a single household. Guess what? Mama was always the one that made it happen. And when Papa came around, he was around, but he was not there. You know what I'm saying? Not all of us, but some of us have been that process. So how am I going to have time to develop who I am when I'm raising, when I did those things, when I had this, when I did that? You know what I'm saying? So I don't have that time to cultivate. And it seems like when I have a child, I became a parent. When the woman has a child, when the man has a child, he didn't become a parent. He became a babysitter. I
Why you
used to
say
laugh when I hear men would say, "Well, I gotta watch my child." No, you are not gonna have to watch your child. You're taking care of your child. You're not babysitting your child. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely a back and forth with us, with men and women.
Well,
But
let me just say this. Let me just say this to you. What I've realized is from my experiences, I think the key points of relationship is respect, companionship, mutual emotional and mutual emotional support. And what I've learned is that um, you can have your love language, but it is so important that as a woman, you should know how to nurture your man. And I've seen some of the most powerful relationships. Like I look at Obama and his wife. Do you know she's always been she? If you ever read her theses, and you can get it online, everything that he talks about comes from her. Because in her thesis, she talks about the black family and the black race and how we've been overcame and how white America treated us wrong. And his whole conversation was based, you could hear it coming from her thesis, and you can see the nurturing that she does and pushes him and lifts him, right? And it's not always easy, right? But I found out a lot of our sisters, when we go through struggles, we stay there. It happened in 2001, and it never leaves the household. 2002, they still talking about it. 2003, they still talking about it. And I had to ask, like, you God? Like, when are you forgive me? But they hold on to, they say, oh yeah, I forgave you. I forgot about it. But every time a situation comes up, they throw it back to 2001. And they never let it go. So is that being submissive? Or is that just being evil?
Well, you know what? The thing is one of the things that you said was how we as women, how Michelle cultivated her husband and did this and did that. That's beautiful, and I hear you. But the thing is this: some of us, if I'm not cultivated, I can't cultivate you. That's number one. Number two is, even if no matter how much I want to cultivate a man, if he's not ready to be cultivated and to stand alongside of him, I can't do that.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? It takes two to tango. Right. Just like we're talking about relationships. What does it make for us? The solution would be, hey, to have that communication, to have that understanding of self, to have that understanding of togetherness. We don't always come like that in relationships. People have their agendas. We never sit down and talk about, you know how sometimes it's when you're in the relationship you find out, oh, he ain't want no kids. Well, you should have found out before you married him he ain't want no kids. Or, you know, really communicate effectively to really bring about what your expectation in the relationship is. We get into it, and after that, it's too late now. We're in it, and it's harder to try to get out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Look, let me ask this question, because I'm on this thing called Clubhouse, and some of the women, they had been posing. There was one of the sessions I was in, and one of the women's, there's two things that they said, and I want to get y'all's feedback on this because this talks about relationships. And the first thing that they said was, if you want to be poor the rest of your life, marry a black man. And the second was, yeah. And the second thing is don't marry a black man if he makes less than $7,000 a year. So they were coming hard about relationships, but I wanted to get y'all's feedback. Response to one of the ladies was, well, my response, not to one of the ladies, to that whole topic was, the first one was marrying a black man and being poor. I'm like, they were talking about a black man that's not already established or doesn't have goals, that already have plans to have money. You don't want to marry that type of dude. But I was like, what has goals and he's working towards things? To me, I would think that if you working in a relationship, you would want to work on building wealth with that black man. So me, yo, we want a black man that's already established and got money. So what do y'all think about that? Because that plays out in relationships, and it maybe made some guys away from relationships or really nurturing relationship the way it needs to be. What are your ideas?
Hold on. Tawana, what you think about it?
It depends on the type of woman and where they are in their lives. I think it's important for you to have developed yourself as a person before you start looking for a relationship, because you can't bring a half-formed person into a relationship and expect it to be successful. So I don't think of it as a number as far as the man needs to make this much money. But, to your point, Brandon, what is your plan? Where are you going? And maybe you do need to take some time and work on yourself a bit before you can go into a relationship. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. A lot of the conversations.
I like the way you said that.
Thank you. A lot of the conversations that I've had.
It's not just one side.
I agree. No, that's quite all right. A lot of the conversation thus far is kind of centered around pain and hurt. A woman's natural feminine trait is nurturing, but there may be something within that woman's past that she hasn't healed from that prevents her from nurturing a man and nurturing those children properly and being a foundation in the Black community. So I think that a lot of people tend to go from one relationship to the next without spending time to heal, without spending time for self-discovery to know yourself before you can bring these issues into another situation. You need to take time to heal and know who you are and also build before you can say, okay, I'm ready, to be loved. I'm ready to love.
True.
The question that you posed again, I want to touch back on that. Hey, the money issue, where he has to be making a certain amount of money. If he's not making that money, he's not going to be with. And I have to tag team with my sister. Let me tell you, if you're not whole within yourself, you cannot be part of any relationship. And then that's that whole thing where the man is. And that's what we were talking about. In one hand, you want him to be the provider and pay for all the bills. But in another hand, you want to rule and reign and say, well, if he doesn't have this, if he doesn't have that, I'm not going to be with him. I'm not going to be. The thing was that you're looking for a sugar daddy. You're looking for a father. When your father did not provide, now you want the man to be the daddy for you. If a relationship is two whole people make a whole relationship. You know what I'm saying? I bring my thing to the table. You bring your thing to the table. But
what happened? I think that's the Cardi B effect. That's the Cardi B effect. Where everybody wants somebody to take care of them. Like, listen, I think the greatest relationship is when two people come together with nothing and they build on something.
Yes.
And they create a foundation to build that house. You can't prime example, I had a guy played in the NBA. He was a very good friend. I won't say his name. And we were sitting out working out, and he said, "Wow, he got married." He said, "Man," he said, "Maybe I should have waited." Right? And I said, "Why you say that, big brother?" He said, "Because I got $4 million a year, and she got $32,000 a year as a school teacher." And he said, "I love her, but like, who wouldn't love me? I'm making $4 million a year, and I married her as soon as I got drafted." And when he said that to me, I said, "Wow!" And so this one guy, he now he's, I don't even want to talk that deep. Well, he's coaching in the NBA, and And I believe he's coaching it because he don't want to go home. Because when she got a degree, she got pregnant, she stayed home, and then she got a nanny. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, why you need a nanny for one baby? But this guy was making $4 million a year. And I looked at it from my, but I'm gonna tell you what, for me, I was celibate for 2 years. And in my celibacy, I learned to love me. And I got the chance I started reading everything. I read Iyanla Vanzant. I read Terry Moore, The Do Right. I read the Quran. I read the Bible, the Torah. Everything I read, I was reading to try to make myself better.
Mm-hmm.
Because one day I wanted to marry somebody and have a family and build this foundation in this paradise. But even after all doing that, right, I had to get a certain thing out of me. And that black men are taught at the age of 3 years old, 4 years old. Black men are taught to cheat.
Mm.
And I had this conversation with somebody, and they said, Marab, that's just an excuse. I said, no, black men are taught to cheat. Because I watched a young lady, she had a little boy. And her little boy was very handsome. And she said, my son going to have all the girls.
Mm.
He was 4 or 5 years old. Now, how many black women you heard say that? A lot. And so that little boy heard his mother say, I'm going to have all the girls. And then he watched television and he watched hip hop. And that taught him women are bitches and hoes, right? You should have more than one. And then if he didn't have a father that he can look at as an example, television taught men that if you got more than one woman, you the man, right? So now this kid is 20 years old. His mother said he's going to have more than one girl. Television said he's going to have more than one girl. Society commercializing tells you that men's supposed to have more than one woman. That you the man if you got more than one. You the guy, right? Then they meet one of y'all. Well, y'all was taught that if you have more than one man, you're what? You're a whore. Now we come under the same umbrella trying to date each other. All these 20 years I've been taught to cheat, and you've been taught to be faithful, and you fighting with me talking about why you always running? Why you always got this girl number in your phone? Because guess what? That's all I was taught. Since I was a baby, they teach black boys or any young boy to cheat. Especially in the black community where the fathers are not there to say, hold up for a minute, what are you doing? You see me treat your mother like that? So when you see a young boy who faithful to his mate, you usually there's a father there. And the father is like, no, we don't do that here. You're going to treat her right. You're going to hold her up accountable. You're going to take care of them kids. And then he said, you're right, Dad. I'm going to be there for my family. But if he doesn't have it, he becomes a what? A cheater. So that's why so many relationships in the inner cities are so broken up. The lack of a father telling his son, hey, yo, it is, look what I'm doing. Look at my success rate. And so once I've learned that I had to get that out of me, right? It wasn't easy. Because when you, a man who make it's not. Let me tell you why it's not. Because when you make more than $75,000 a year or $80,000 a year, right? Which is not a lot of money in Northern Jersey, but when you make it and you can go anywhere you want, travel anywhere you want, right? Black women are looking at you. You're clean cut, nice car, you got all your teeth in your mouth, you classy, you pulling out the American Express, the Visa, right? And you can swipe the card and do whatever you want to do. And now you start to realize, oh, I'm a valuable commodity. and then you turn around and you started looking at them as property and not as specialty, a special person or a special individual. And when I started reading and I went through celibacy, a lot of men haven't taken out the time to learn who they are. Like the sister said earlier, you need to learn who you are. When I took out the time to figure me out and be in a space by myself, I start realizing that and I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna let you, because I know I'm long-winded, but I started looking at black men who had rings around their fingers, and I started, wow, that's powerful. And every black man who was successful in the world, he always had a wife. Obama, Malcolm, Martin, Marcus Garvey. Any brother you know who's doing well, if he's not, he's always got a ring on his finger because he's so focused on building that he doesn't have time to have 5 different queens. He just want one. And he want to put his focus there. And that's what I've learned in my journey. And that's why I think relationships are based on what Tawana said. You got to take out the time to get to know you. You got to figure it out. And sometimes it's crazy. You got guys 50 years old, 45 years old, haven't figured it out.
Right.
And it comes through that one muscle. They think relationships comes through that muscle. And the relationship is not about the muscle in your pants, it's about the muscle in your head.
Yeah.
And until we can and so the thing is that's why I fight so hard to educate young black boys and girls, because I know the father not in the house. And that's another conversation. But relationships, they rough. It could be rough if you don't know who you are. But it could be amazing if both people know who they are and they have the opportunity to talk and be elegant. There's a quote in the Quran. It said that even when you're mad at your wife, you talk to her softly. And then there's another quote. Y'all women might not like how I say this, though. It said if you beat your wife, right? It said beat her as if you hitting her with a feather. So you know if you hit a woman with a feather, she can't feel it, right? That's the level of beat that God talked about in the Quran. It's like tapping her with a feather. So the thing is that I've learned that you got to be a communicator, because I wasn't a communicator. They would talk, my ex-relationship, they would talk, and I wouldn't even listen. I was like, yeah, you're just talking too much. But now I'm open to conversations. I'm open to listen. I'm open to learn, because a lot of our black queens have a lot to say. But if you don't open your heart and your mind to listen, then you're always going to be stuck. And this, what happens is you draw the energy out of her to the point that she don't want to be nurturing. She don't want to be caring, because you're not even listening to what she said. And that's my point. How you feel, Brandon?
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think communication is key, man. Listening is important. Listening is the most important thing, more than talking. Because if you take some time to really listen, there's some things that just you don't ever have to say, because you just hear the heart of somebody. So when you listen, it's the action that's behind it. To me, I hear something. Sometimes I don't ever have to say anything. I just act, and that's it. And I think that that's key. If we take a little bit more time to listen, like you said, and not just so much thinking that it's a nagging thing or thinking that they're coming across being hard, but just take some time to listen, because like Alex said earlier, she said those words of affirmation, if you listen and you know how to say and what to say and when to say, it speaks volumes in a relationship, and it builds grounds for trust, loyalty, unselfishness, just someone not being selfish, being considerate. When you hear the voice of what somebody has to say, you just make those things work. And I think it's beautiful when you listen and take some time to listen.
Yeah, God, that's the greatest thing God ever gave you with your ears. I wish you tell more sisters that, because some of them,
Yeah,
they be
and
running
it
their
goes
mouth.
both ways. It goes both ways. It goes both ways because sometimes women won't listen to the man. Like, you're not listening to me. But yo, you not listening to me.
Right.
So,
So, Alex, how do you feel about a man? Like, what empowers you about him? What makes when you look for a man? I don't know if you're married now. Are you married? Okay. So when you look for a mate, what are some of the key things that you look for? And
I'm
I'm gonna ask you this too, also. So think
no,
about it.
I'm a communicator. I'm looking for someone that can communicate. I'm one of those people. I want to hash it out. I want to talk about it. I want to open it up. Having a counselor background, I'm one of those people that if we cannot communicate, then there's no relationship. That's key for me in a relationship, and that's one of those things. I think that finances, money is the last thing for me, because I feel like a lot of times, and that's in every relationship. It's a funny thing. Not only a husband and wife relationship, that's in every relationship. If you're not communicating in a relationship, you're not in a relationship. Whether it's my mother and father, whether it's my siblings, whether it's my uncle, communication is key for the relationship to work. So that's my
Tawana,
first thing. That's my
oh,
main thing that I look for, communicating.
Thank you. Tawana, what do you look for in a relationship when you're looking for your?
You kind of mentioned it. You mentioned energy. Energy is so vitally important. Is this a positive person? Is he spiritual? Is he God-fearing? What is he putting out into the world? You do want somebody stable. I'm not saying that you have to be rich, but are you stable in your life? Are you stable emotionally? Do you know what you want? Those are all very important things. Communication, intelligence. I'm certainly someone that likes conversation. So you need to have a level of intelligence, and also a sense of community. Are you a proud Black man? Are you a Black man giving back? Are you looking for ways you can do that? Are you looking for opportunities to bring other young Black men up? Those are all things that I aspire to. I had a very strong, proud Black father who was home every night. So I certainly look for someone like him.
How about you, Brandon? What do you look for when you're looking for your mate?
Goal oriented, somebody that has a good family foundation. If like Tawana said, community is important, and that energy. If the energy, that's like saying the Bible speaks of being equally yoked. If you're not with somebody that's good values, good Christian foundation, not necessarily even Christian, just a spiritual foundation, that has a good sense of who they are spiritually, identity. If you don't know who you are, then you can't help me. We can't grow together. And that's one of the things I've learned about in relationship. If you're not working on who you are, you'll never have a good relationship, and that's never going to be good energy. So I believe that energy is important. Communication is important. Consideration is important. Consideration for one another, that yields respect, that yields honesty. Someone who's honest. Those are all things that's important to me in a relationship. It's not about money. It's not always even about looks. I think looks is a thing. The beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So what one person might think is beautiful to me is beauty to me. So
Right.
that's important to me. Someone that I connect with spiritually, emotionally, and just that's it, man.
And me, I look for. I understand that relationships is like looking for a diamond, and that you have to understand that sometimes you got to keep digging and keep digging and keep digging until you find it. Because sometimes what I've noticed that we run into rocks, and we'll take that rock that look good and we'll hold on to it. And I told the sister one time, I said, listen, she said, Rob, I can't find nobody. I said, well, keep digging. Because I said, diamonds don't just pop up. It's in the dig that you find the diamond. But I want y'all to hold that thought. We're going to go to commercial, but I want to come back after this commercial, and I want to talk about romance in the relationship and how that curves the relationship and how that is designed to enhance the relationship and how we approach it. So let's go to this commercial. Guys, I'm Robert Carpenter, CEO of Civic Group and COO of the Wolf Designers. If you have a child, nephew, niece, or just a child you love, go to BigRobChildrenBooks.com. Buy one of our books, t-shirts, hoodies, and support an underserved child. When you buy something, proceeds go to helping an underserved child. So click on the link and support a child. Hey, we back. This is Big Rob with HBCU Talk. Again, we got our Brandon, I call him B. Marcus. Tawana, she new with us. I'm glad to have her. And we got the Diamond, Alex. But I wanted to talk about romance. I heard a sister say to me one time, she said, I forgot the word she used, but she said, there's no more romance in dating. Everybody just want to get a piece. They think they take you out to dinner and they get a piece. And I told her, and this went before I was where I'm at today. I said to her, I said, dating is expensive for a black man. I'm going to tell you why. I can go out with Alex today, right? Take out to a nice restaurant, spend $200, $150, right?
Easy.
Talk to Alex for a week, find out Alex is crazy as hell. So I gotta cut her off. Then I can turn around and I can go out, go to a nice affair, and I can meet Tawana, right? Me and Tawana go out on 3 or 4 dates. I'm not gonna take her nowhere cheap because she's a classy woman, upclass, sharp, educated. So you're gonna take her to Chow's, Tao, and nice restaurants. I'm gonna spend $800 because you done took out 4 times. Average dinner $150 in New York, right? You found out she's a liar and crazy as hell.
No romance.
Now, I just went through. Listen, I just went through $1,000 of dating.
Right.
Because we don't, because anything, and so you frustrated. You're not dating nobody. You're still back in the same spot, right? And you say to a brother, like I said earlier, you got to keep digging, you got to keep finding, right? And you be like, hell with this. I mean, I heard brothers say this. I'm going with the ones with the low self-esteem. They ain't giving me no stress. I can take them to Chuck E. Cheese and with their kids and buy some $5 pieces, and they're gonna be like, you treat my kids so well, and they're gonna give them all the joy and happiness, right? So how do you identify in your romance, right? Because I asked a black sister one time, I said, let's just go out and get some coffee. Meet me at the coffee spot. She said, coffee spot? You're not taking me to get no coffee. You're going to take me out. You're going to take me out. I don't know you. And then if you say, let's go Dutch. cheap ass nigga. Right? This is what they do. Right? I got 5 sisters. This nigga talking about he going Dutch. He ain't never getting none of this pussy. That's what they say, right? Because they hold that vagina in the air. Right? And which is valuable. It's valuable. It's very important, right? They hold it in the air and they dangle it over our noses and our faces like, I know you want some of this, so you're gonna pay for this. So I'm saying to myself, what happened to the Roman? I had one sister tell my boy, don't buy me no roses, they die. I'm sure y'all heard this before. So how do we as black men be loving, caring, affectionate, tender? And if I put a card on your car, you like, oh, this nigga put a card on my car. You whack as hell. I don't want no card. Take me out to eat. I'm a foodie. Because that's what I heard chicks say. I'm a foodie now. How do we get past that? How did we even get there that a sister don't even want roses no more? She doesn't even want chocolate no more. When last time one of y'all got chocolate from a brother?
I don't know what kind of women you're dating. But
See,
I like
that's what I'm saying to you.
I like
simple.
Let Tawana talk. Let her talk, please.
I don't know what kind of women you are dating. Let me ask you another question.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you not enjoy the company of that beautiful, articulate woman on that date? You enjoyed that company. Did you not also enjoy steak? You enjoyed some wine too.
Right.
You know? And I say that to say, you know, a lot of men look at dating as something that it isn't. Dating is a form of entertainment, you know, and you pick a woman that you feel good about being with. You know, you could pick that woman with low self-esteem that wants to go to Chuck E. Cheese, you know, but at the end of the day, as a man, you're not going to have as much value assigned to her as what you would that woman that you paid $200 to go out on a date with. So, in my opinion, every date doesn't have to be a $200 date. You know, I'm perfectly happy going to a coffee house. And, you know, later on in our relationship, we can definitely go Dutch, you know?
Can I say something to you? Let me just say this to you. This is why you're having the conversation on the stream and because you think this way. Mm-hmm. But there's a Cardi B effect
I know
that's running rapid in our community that a man's supposed to pay every time I move. And what I'm saying to you that it may not sound great to you, but there's a cultural thing that's going across our community. And I'm talking about I've met educated black women who think this way. Who think about, I need the bag. I need the Gucci and the Louis. I'm not saying you see, and so when we had these conversations, I want you to look at the environment that our black men are put into, and then what we have to make our choices within.
I agree with you. 100%. And it's unfortunate that a woman sees, you know, that material item, you know, as a status symbol, but, you know, men see certain women as a status symbol, you know, and it's a vicious cycle, and it's within our Black community, as you pointed out. Mm-hmm. But it's a very challenging mindset to try and change, right? Because it's so deeply embedded in our community.
Well, I would say that the blessed thing that happened in this,
and them not the women I date either. I'm just saying that. I'm sorry.
No,
I had to say that.
The great thing that's happening in this time is COVID. Now, when we meet somebody, you can say to somebody, let's meet on Zoom, let's meet on social media, so that we can actually talk and get to see each other, get to know each other before we actually get to actually outside. You know what I'm saying? So that is you know, sometimes we look at everything as a negative. I think that That's a positive that happens now.
Mm.
You know, the four of us here, we don't always get together, and yet we've never met Tawana, but yet we're part of a conversation with her that allow us to see her in a different way. So I think that this is not a negative that will help us even in dating. Like you're saying, Rob, I agree with you. It is a money draining perspective. But also somebody even posted, it's your age and it's how you brought up. Because as an established person, I'm not looking for you to pay for me. I'll go Dutch because my expectation is don't expect nothing after this date. Don't even expect dinner. Don't even expect a kiss or a hug or a hold hand. Because guess what? We going on our first date. You have your bill. I have my bill.
Can I ask you a question?
That's how I feel on our first date.
What
you
I'm
don't
saying
know
to
me.
you is,
I don't know you.
Can I ask you a
like
question?
somebody said, it's the
What happens
age
what happens if the date is amazing?
And let me tell you, we will.
I'm not saying. Can you show a level of intimacy without being sexual?
Oh, of course.
It's about not being creepy. You know, just don't be creepy with it. You can be, you know, you can show
exactly. Don't be creepy. I love that.
Don't be creepy.
But what is
Don't
creepy?
Be creepy with it.
Like,
creepy
give me an example of what creepy is.
Creepy.
Because I might have been a creep at one time. Tell me what being creepy is. I need to know because I might have been a creep and I thought it was okay. What's creepy?
That I would like to know what's considered creepy.
Creepy can be the way you're looked at. It could be, you know, things a guy says. Anything untoward. That's it's very hard to put it into words. It could be, you know, being touched inappropriately. It could be many things, you know. But
so if I reach out, if we on a nice date, I'm gonna cut you off. Sorry, and I just reach out to grab your hand. Is that creepy?
No, not at all. That's not creepy at all.
Okay, I'll give you a creepy example. Let me tell you, I went out with this guy. I leaned over to hug him and say, "Thank you, nice date." He gonna go smell me.
Yes, that's creepy.
I was like, okay.
He what?
Creepy.
He leaned over to smell me.
Mm-hmm.
He smelled you. But what I'm saying, what did he say when he smelled you?
Look, I leaned over to do this. He leaned over and said, I mean, you heard the sound, and you're like, I'm like,
okay, that's creepy as hell. That's creepy.
Yeah, like you can say he could have said,
run to the light. Run. You should have ran after that.
Yeah.
Any man sniffing on you like you a pit bull, that's out of line.
Right.
Yeah. But you know what? Go ahead, Brad. I wanted to say one thing, if you don't mind. I'm gonna let this speak. But men are. I read this book, Men Are for Venus, Women for Mars. You ever read that book? Okay. Men talk through their hands. See, we are control freaks. That's why when we with y'all, we be like, "That's my woman," because we want, like, when we know we want y'all, we want y'all. We want to be in control of the situation now because that's who we are. And my mother used to always tell me that a woman sometimes has to reassure the man that she wants to be with him so he can ease up a little bit. And a lot of women don't know how to do that because a man could be like, "Wow, I'm super attracted to this woman," and she could be feeling the same way. But she don't know how to tell the man in certain ways, you know, I want to be here, so I'm not going nowhere. Just ease up, and we can enjoy this. So we sitting around. That's why we sometimes constantly ask you, like, "Did you have a nice time? Like, everything's okay?" You know what I mean? Like, you know, because we're emotional beings as well, but our emotions comes to our fingertips. You know what I mean? And sometimes, so my mother would say to my sister, you know, you got to show, if you interested, you tell him, you let him know you're interested so he can be at ease. Because a man is intense when he's around a beautiful sister. It's just a part of the animalistic, I ain't gonna say animalistic, it's a part of the being of a human. Is that like when we smell y'all smell good, your hair gorgeous, like we're excited. And that's why they call us dogs. But anyway, we're excited. And so when we get excited, we want to react. But if you're a sharp black woman, you can ease that man and be like, babe, chill, no rush. I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
And watch how easy. And I learned that from being around a strong black woman. I had this one woman in my life who was like, hey, take it easy. I ain't going nowhere. And it just, I was like, I started becoming more comfortable. But when you guessing, you're trying to do everything in the world to try to get that woman to be with you or to be right there with you. You know what I mean? So I think that black women don't take out the time to understand black men and how they function. Like you guys function from your emotions and the way and how you think. We function from our hands. That's why have you ever noticed that you go out on a date, the man always put his hands on your back? That's his way of showing you like, yo, I want you right here. But you ever notice you went out with a man who really wasn't interested in you? He doesn't put his hands on you. He won't touch you.
Or he walks away from you.
Right.
Here's a reminder from Prayer Times.
Right.
It is time for Aisha.
Exactly.
The next prayer, Fajr, is
You want to say something, Brad?
Yeah, I was going to say I am.
It is time for Aisha.
I just want to let women know that chivalry is not dead. There are some good men out here that still believe in romance, that still believe in opening up those doors. And
what's the word you use?
Chivalry is not dead.
Somebody said that to me. I ain't know what the hell you're talking about. Chivalry.
Yeah.
No, I knew what you're talking about. I'm just joking.
It's been that gentleman, and I don't think that a lot of women, they receive a lot of that these days. Like you said, men are calling women bitches and hoes, and that's the way some women like that, just like a woman walking down the street with a brother whose pants are sagging. Ain't nothing romantic about that. Not to me. I just think that with women, Rob, I understand what you were saying about, going and spending out a lot of money on dates. I just think that it's important I like to listen to what a woman says, because sometimes I don't have to spend all that money. If like Tawana said, she doesn't mind going for coffee. I wouldn't mind having conversation with her. She said that now.
Let that brother ask her to go meet her for a cup of coffee.
I think
that sometimes you need that coffee date. If it could be someone you don't know really well,
exactly.
And maybe you don't want to sit down and have a full course meal with him. You just want to vibe out a little bit and understand who this person is before you spend 3 hours with them.
Exactly. I've learned to do that. I've learned to say, hey, let's meet for coffee. Let's meet for lunch. Let's meet for lunch, because I want to get to know you and you get to know me, because we may in between, in the middle of this lunch, while you spending out a whole bunch of money on dinner, in the middle of this lunch that's maybe $35 a piece, you can find out, hey, I don't ever want to see you again. It gives that woman an opportunity, that man an opportunity, whoever you're dating, it gives them an opportunity to be open, transparent, and see where this relationship can go. Is it going to be another time that we're going to see each other or not?
But Brandon, let me ask you guys a question. I went to a white university. I went to HBCU first.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went to a white university, right? To further my education. Have an opportunity to date a white woman, right? Okay. I say, oh, yo, let's just meet at the pizzeria and let's have a conversation, get to know each other. Okay, that's cool, right? My sisters, pizza. I'm not saying all, but 80%, right? And that 20% is rare, you know what I mean? But I own barbershops, not one, not two, but 3. And every time I would enter each door of those barbershops, with brothers who made 6 figures, brothers who made, 70, 80,000, and brothers who just made, 40, 50, 30,000. And their biggest thing was you just can't even take a sister out on a basic date to have a basic conversation. Well, when I'm talking to you two young ladies come from a different space. Your mentality is different from a lot of sisters, and I'm sure a lot of times people don't say to you, you're different. Am I correct? So I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to that young sister who didn't have a mother, who didn't have a father, you know what I mean? Who grew up not understanding. And there's a lot of that going on in our community because there's too many brothers saying it. And and that's the thing, well, I be telling sisters, sometimes we got to listen to our brothers about what they're saying and what's in there and what they're articulating to us. Because I always tell a sister, if I'm dating her, I always say, you in the driver's seat. You're going to drive until you're ready to give me the driver's seat. And when you give me the driver's seat, that determines a lot on where we're going to go. You know what I mean? So in the beginning, the determines where we're going to eat at, what restaurant, what we're going to do that night. Because you're asking her what you like to do, where we're going to go, and she makes all these determinations. Now, once you allow me to take over control, then I'll call you and be like, babe, we're going to go get Chuck E. Cheese. We're going to get some pizza over there, or going to Burger King. I'm just joking. But we're going to go here, we're going to go there. And then the woman usually, if she trusts the man, she usually follows him. She follows him in his religious beliefs. She follows him in the way she want to raise his kids. You know what I'm trying to say? And so the thing is that a lot of times, what I've learned is that you have to, and you said this to me, Tawana, you have to go to different places and put yourself in different atmospheres so you can meet those people who think like you. And
Absolutely.
if you don't, so if you don't, you're always going to be in a situation where you're talking to people who don't think like you or don't have the same ideas like you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's why when I talk to a Christian woman, I said, well, where are you looking for your man at? She said, I said, well, he might be in your church, but he may not be looking like the guy that you want. Because sometimes we want the guy to be shaped a certain way and have a different look, and skin supposed to look a certain way. He's supposed to wear a certain type of shoe. You know what I mean? So I tell my boy Monty, he got a stomach out to here, right? He got like a gut. And he's always looking at these girls with bad bodies, right? That's why I go to the gym. I said, Monty, you can't ask for something that you're not.
But it's so accepted with men with a big body, with a big belly, but not a woman.
No, not no more.
Exactly. It's a double standard.
No. I mean, women don't mind you having a little gut as a man.
Look, I've seen
women
them
are talking about
pregnant, and they still think they're cute.
But women are talking about now. If he got a big gut with a big a pocket, that gut don't mean nothing, right? But she's worried about if he got ED. You know what I mean? A lot of women say with that big gut he got ED, and you know what ED is, right?
No, I don't.
Erectional dysfunction. Because you got sugar, high blood pressure, and everything. So listen, I'm telling you, women are asking these questions with these brothers. Listen, hey, Brad, I own restaurants. My gut used to be up crazy. Couldn't tie. Women ask you that question, like, you got that big gut, you got ED. I'd be like, what's ED? And I mean, because they don't want to be with a man who can't get it up. Yeah. And it's crazy that this is all the conversations that men are having, and I hear it in the barbershop. And I used to hear it Brandon, you know, I had barbershops. I used to hear it, and I used to be like, what? I mean, I even heard things about and you probably think it's crazy. Brothers used to be like, man, she taking $500 of child support from me every month. I used to be like, 500? That's it? I said, what baby could get taken care of with 500? And so I used to have to break it down to the brother. I said, okay, you got 500. I said, how much is the rent? He said, she paid 1,200. I said, it's only him and her, right? He said, yeah. I said, well, 600, that's from the baby. And 600 is for her. I said, you gonna pay 3. I said, that 500 gone. Now who gonna feed the little joker? And then I said, now who gonna? I said, when he got to go to school in the morning, who gonna pick him up and take him to school? You not. You live across town. And I said, now he want an ice cream when he walk out the building. I said, who gonna pay for the ice cream? He want that every day. They come out that building. And Tawana, you got a son. Don't he want that ice cream from the ice cream truck? And that ice cream truck parked right in front of the school. So relationships, what I found out is it goes back to what you both of you guys said. You said you got to listen, right? And then Tawana said you got to take out the time and get to know who you are as a person,
Right.
so you can have these great relationships. But anybody want to tap on that, because I love these conversations about relationships, because these what makes our community strong is those interactions with one another, and to empower each other. And I tell a brother, even if you don't plan on being with your sister, leave a sister at good peace. Don't leave a sister all messed up because you're trying to use her. Leave her in a place where she can grow. You know what I mean? So if I'm dating a sister and I know I'm not going to be with her, I try to educate her to bring herself to where I'm at. So one day when another brother who's where I'm at meets her, she can be like empowered to empower him as well as he empower her. But what we do, we abuse and use each other to the point that when the relationship is over, it becomes a pain of hate. You know what I mean? And I don't want to never have a sister saying she hate me or dislike me because I did her wrong. So sometimes you got to, like, I tell brothers all the time, it's okay to date, and it's okay not to want to be with her. And it's okay if you're intimate with her and still don't want to be with her, if that's what she chooses. But leave her in a good place. Respect her enough that when you leave her, she can say, you know what, we didn't make it, but that brother was a good brother, and I learned a lot from him, and I'm going to take what I learned from him and moved on.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
On that note, I just want to just say thank you guys for coming out and being a part of this 4-part series about relationships. Did anybody have anything they want to say before and you know, at the end of the night, we all ask somebody to say something in reference what we talked about. So we're going to start off with Alex, I said, or did I say Brandon? I said Alex, right? So we're going to start off with Alex, and we're going to go from there. Go ahead, Alex, on you.
I would say that knowing who you are and allowing yourself to understand that you're not exemplified from, having been counseled, understanding. And so always seek to understand, not always to blame. And having that foundation of who God is so that you'll know your identity. That's what makes relationship grow and make it better.
That's good stuff.
That's it.
Okay. And Mr. Wana, you want to say something?
Yeah, I know. It's just really brief. Pretty much what I've said thus far. Life is a journey of self-discovery. You find a partner if you're lucky, but you can't just rely on that partnership. You have to love yourself and know who you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm loving myself.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And Brandon,
Yeah.
she be looking so serious, don't she?
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
play with me, Rob.
Yeah.
Alex, this is serious sister right here. I'm glad. I like that though. Alex like to joke around, but she be serious.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Brandon, go ahead and say give her your
Yeah.
opinion, Brandon.
Right. I think that we've been hitting on it all night is about identity, knowing who you are in a relationship. It's key to know who you are, having your identity and who you give authority to be in your life. Is like having an understanding, being transparent, giving that person authority to give them access to who you are and to build with you. I think it's an important thing. Transparency, loving one another, being open, listening, consideration, all those are things. So my brothers and my sisters, I encourage you as you search for that diamond and that diamond in the rough that Rob was talking about, because it's out there. Relationship could be good. So I'm looking for that person, and I hope that you're looking for that person too. Just be open, and know who you are is key. Communication, and just love one another, and the rest will happen.
I just want to say that relationships are a journey,
Yeah.
and when you take this journey, understand that who you're going to put inside that car. Understand that they're willing to take the ride through rough bumps, hills, and downhills. Um, I think the key to the relationship is identifying what God says in the book of Timothy's. When a woman looks for a man, he should be a man who is respected by his peers. He should be a man of God, and he should be a man who leads his household as he would lead his church. I believe that a man should be subjected to the pain that comes to his family first.
Mm.
I think a man is supposed to be a provider and a caretaker, not only from a physical standpoint, but from a spiritual standpoint.
Yeah.
I think that a man should respect his wife and hold his wife and put her on a pedestal
Yeah.
and love her like he would love God. So that's how I look at relationships, and it goes back to what Brandon says that um, when you're digging for that diamond, understand that it doesn't come overnight. There's only a few people who dig the first time and find that diamond, and when you do find it, cherish it, wipe it down, clean it, always love it, and take care of it. And on that note, thanks guys for listening. This is HBCU Talk. This is the first episode of a 4-part series about relationships. Tune in on Tuesday at 7:30. We're going to be talking about family relationships. And again, thank you and peace.